So when you think about the AI revolution, you're probably picturing, well, algorithms, right? Massive data centers, brilliant lines of code. But what if I told you that the entire digital world, everything from the phone in your hand to the most powerful AI server, is built on an invisible, physical ingredient? In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on that very ingredient.
Yep, that's right. Every single complex calculation, every piece of generative art, it all rests on a physical foundation. It's the product of a multi-billion-dollar industry that, honestly, operates almost completely out of sight. But without it, our digital future just wouldn't exist. So what is this hidden component? What is the secret lifeblood flowing through the veins of the entire semiconductor industry, making everything from your laptop to the most advanced AI actually possible? Well, the answer is electronic gases. Now, these aren't just any old gases. We're talking about ultra-pure substances, the essential food, if you will, used to build microchips layer by literal atomic layer. Simply put, without them, there are no chips, and without chips, there is no AI. Okay, first up, let's talk about scale. The explosive growth of AI hasn't just created demand, it's created this voracious, incredibly specific appetite for these materials. And the numbers? They're absolutely staggering. To really get a handle on the scale, just look at the engine driving all of this. The global semiconductor market is projected to surge to around $770 billion by 2025. This isn't just normal growth, it's a super cycle, and it's being powered heavily by the relentless demand for AI hardware. And this chart here, it shows the direct consequence perfectly. As the chip market booms, so does the market for the gases that create them. Let's take China, a huge hub for electronics manufacturing. As you can see, the market for these gases there is on track to more than double in less than a decade. It's estimated to hit 218 billion yuan. That's over 30 billion US dollars by 2025. And this is a direct reflection of what's happening all over the globe. Now, what's really interesting is where these gases are actually going. I mean, sure, they're crucial for things like display panels and solar cells, but look at that biggest slice. The number one consumer at nearly 40% is integrated circuits. You know, the very heart of the AI and computing revolution. But here's the thing. It's not just about getting more gas. The demands of modern AI chips have sparked this frantic technological arms race for something else entirely, almost unimaginable purity. To understand this arms race, you got to look at the leap in precision. For older chips, impurity levels were measured in parts per billion, or ppb. But for today's cutting-edge 3nm chips that power AI, the standard is now parts per trillion, ppt. That is 1,000 times purer. And why the jump? Well, because at these tiny scales, a single stray atom can ruin an entire multi-million-dollar chip wafer. It's honestly hard to even wrap your head around what parts per trillion really means. So picture this. It's the equivalent of trying to find one single drop of water in the volume of 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That is the mind-boggling level of precision we're talking about here. And believe it or not, the race isn't over. As this quote from the industrial gas giant Nippon Sanso shows, the industry is already pushing into the next frontier, ppq. That's parts per quadrillion. To be clear, that's another 1,000 times purer. We are truly operating at the absolute limits of material science. So, who provides these incredibly complex materials? This is not a market you can just decide to enter. It's more like a fortress, protected by enormous walls that keep almost all the competition out and a select few incumbents safely inside.
This chart right here really says it all. The global electronic gas market is a classic oligopoly. Just four giants, you can see their massive share right here: Linde, Air Liquide, Taiyo Nippon Sanso, and Air Products. Together, they control over 70% of the entire global market. And in some specific regions, their dominance is even greater.
So how do they protect this dominance? Well, they've basically built three massive walls around their fortress. The first wall, just getting your product approved, is a grueling process that can take 2 to 3 years. The second wall, there is zero tolerance for error. One bad batch of gas can destroy billions of dollars worth of chips in an instant. And the third and maybe biggest wall, on-site production. The gas giants build their plants right next to the chip factories, locking customers into contracts that last 15 to 20 years.
Now, for decades, this fortress was incredibly stable. But now, geopolitical shifts and this new drive for technological independence are causing a massive scramble, forcing a complete rethink of the entire global supply chain.
For years and years, the model was all about global efficiency. But as this timeline shows, recent geopolitical conflicts created massive price shocks for critical rare gases like neon and xenon. Suddenly, the game has changed. The new mantra is technology sovereignty, and you're seeing nations scrambling to build their own localized supply chains to protect their vital chip industries.
And this whole shift creates a fascinating tension, which this table lays out really well. On one hand, governments are throwing huge subsidies at companies to build local factories. That's a big opportunity. But the challenge is that the prices of critical rare gases can swing wildly based on geopolitics. And on the tech front, AI itself is an opportunity to optimize processes, but that runs smack into the challenge of the immense energy costs required to get that parts per trillion purity we talked about.
So how is the industry adapting to all this? Well, they're innovating at a breakneck pace. They're developing not just the gases of the future, but entirely new business models to navigate this crazy new world.
A major driver for innovation right now is sustainability. A lot of the traditional electronic gases are really potent greenhouse gases with a high global warming potential, or GWP. So in response, the industry is racing to develop low GWP alternatives and create these closed-loop recycling systems with the goal of slashing their carbon footprint by over 40%.
And in a fascinating twist, AI isn't just the source of all this demand, it's also becoming part of the solution. You have companies like Merck now using their own internal AI platforms to dramatically speed up the discovery of new materials, simulating molecular properties and saving thousands of hours of R&D work every single week.
So looking ahead, you can really see three key trends that are going to define the future. First, there's a shift from just selling gas to managing a client's entire chemical supply chain. Second, a mad dash to secure long-term control over critical resources like helium. And third, just constant material innovation, developing new precursor materials, those building blocks for chip layers, to enable the next generation of advanced 3D chips.
Which really brings us to our main takeaway here. It is crystal clear that electronic gases have evolved far, far beyond being some simple industrial commodity. They're just too complex, too pure, and way too critical for that.
They have become a strategic, foundational pillar of the modern world. Control over these invisible ingredients is essential for the trillion-dollar semiconductor industry, for the future of AI, and frankly, for a nation's technological sovereignty. And as the global supply chain continues to fracture and reform, the ultimate question remains: who's going to control this supply next?